Science is the pursuit and application of knowledge and understanding of the natural and social world, following a systematic methodology based on evidence, the basic cause on which science is based on. 1. Natural phenomena, for observation. 2. Conscious mind, for deduction. And 3. Language, to transfer the data from generation to generation. To do science, natural phenomena has to be consistent. It has to be bound by laws with certain patterns. If the natural incidence occurs without a particular pattern, then we would lost in the maze, then we cannot be able to match, re-observe and verify a particular pattern in a thing. Then the concept of science wouldn't exist. Take an example. Suppose you take some water and boils it. One day you notice, after boiling the water, it turns into vapor. And the next day you notice, after boiling the water, it turns into freezing ice. Then what can you do with it? How can you match and convince both this opposite thing? If not, the molecules of water have such property, and bound to certain laws that turns the water into vapor, after taking the energy of heat. This is just one thing I am telling you. But what if everything else was also didn't abide by any property or laws or patterns? What it would be if Newton found the apple is going upward, instead of falling in the ground? Can you tell me? Who put these properties? And made them abiding within certain laws and patterns? That you are doing science through it. As Sir Isaac Newton truly said, God created everything by number, weight and measure. Let us have a look at how we learn about the world and concentrate on the thinking process that is involved in deduction of the matters we observed. The first step is the observation. A visual observation gives oneself a two-dimensional picture of the world. However, without thinking about these images, the world is nothing but an incoherent conglomerate of colors and shapes. Only when we become active and think about these colors and shapes we somehow seem to be able to make sense of them. Now that is an extraordinary achievement. But where does the idea that certain colors and shapes are connected come from? Like the idea of star shape is connected with stars in the sky, hexagon shape is connected with the honeycombs. Maybe it comes from multiple similar observations, and our capacity to order them. That capacity is already part of the thinking process. For instance, one needs to memorize what has been seen before, and be able to remember it at the correct moment. So already in our first encounter with the world, we become active, and able to order the observations. Apart from the ordering process, we also make connections between ordered entities. Only then starts the process that we normally denote thinking. Only then starts the process that we normally denote thinking. Obviously, we have been a bit sloppy here, but there is more. We can also think without any observation interfering. Mathematics is the prime example of it. We can construct a triangle in our mind and manipulate it, like we can increase its size and deform it, while keeping it a triangle. We can prove and convince ourselves and others, just by deducting it from mind. It shows that we can deduce something without interference of objects from the physical world, but the main awe is that who is the mastermind, who designed such extraordinary conscious brain, that itself can give rise to thoughts and can deduce idea without interfering the physical objects. What if we were thoughtless? Consider yourself without thoughts, feelings and the possibility to express yourself. Then what would left? Nothing really. Just the bag of molecules. When you think about it, you realize the very essence of you is gone. Sir Isaac Newton said, "If I have ever made any valuable discoveries, it has been due more to patient attention than to any other talent." In prehistoric times, advice and knowledge was passed from generation to generation in an oral tradition. The development of writing enabled knowledge, to be stored and communicated across generations, with much greater fidelity. Without language, there is no pass down of knowledge from one generation to the next, so the next generation could take the information and develop it further. But how the tradition of language started? Is the language develop itself by the humankind? Or was it preset in our memory? If you observe a child learning language, what you will find, he was taught language by his parents and his surround peoples who already know the language. And they are taught from their parents and their ancestors. But who taught your very ancestors language? Who is the first who knows all the words? He was taught language by his parents or his surround peoples who already know the language. And they are taught from their parents and their ancestors. But who taught your very ancestor language? Who is the first who knows all the words? As we have seen from the experiment of Russian bird boy, who was confined in an apartment, surrounded by bird cages for 7 years. The boy was fed and cared by his mother, but was never spoken to, and the boy never learned to speak, so he started to chirps like birds but no linguistics. Apart from that, from various case studies like Jason Lopez, Houston Attic Boy, Rocham Pieng, Cambodian Jungle Girl, Jeffrey Baldwin, the Nigerian Chimp Boy, shows us that language has to be taught to a child, or let him acquire it, through his surrounding speaking people, otherwise he wouldn't be able to master it throughout his life. It was impossible to learn language without an existing one. If language wouldn't exist, then science couldn't progress. Then who have designed language for you? And facilitates science through it?
وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها.